Hey, hi everyone.
Hi.
Welcome to our self-compassion webinar.
I don't know, wait a couple more moments
Yeah,
maybe?
yeah, we'll give a few more moments just for anyone else who might join, but we'll get started shortly. And thank you all for being here.
Mhm. Oh yeah, let's get into it.
Okay. So hi everyone, my name's Dana. We'll go into our introductions bit later, but just to let you know, I'm Dana. I'm one of the long-term therapists here.
I'm Alex, also a long-term therapist.
And in this webinar today, we'll be exploring self-compassion and talking more about it. Um, Yeah, so we'll get in. Just to give you all heads up, this webinar is being recorded, but everything will be anonymous and confidential, and we'll talk more about that shortly in a couple slides as well, so you know the ins and outs of that.
Okay, we'll do a land acknowledgement here. Heartwood Healing Center offices are located on the traditional territories of the Anishinaabe, Innu, and Oceti-Sakowin, and on the homeland of the Red River Métis. The water that runs through our taps comes from Shoal Lake. We are honored and privileged to do our work here and are committed to working toward reconciliation, uncolonizing, and anti-oppressive practice within our organization. And just to sort of as a tie-in here, if you're thinking about relationship to the land, um, yeah, I think about my personal experience too, self-compassion and how sometimes just being in nature and acknowledging like the beautiful land we live on and how that often helps me feel more self-compassion and gives me a broader perspective. So I just wanted to include that in the land acknowledgement today, all this beauty and bounty that exists around us. Yeah.
Thank you, Alex. So I also just should check, can everyone hear us? If anyone just wants to write in the chat or the Q&A,
How the volume
like
is.
yes, and just let us know if the volume's all right. Yes, okay. One person
Thank
says yes,
you.
wonderful. Thank you. If if anyone has issues hearing us at any time, just let us know because you never know what can happen. Okay, good.
Thank
Someone else says the volume is good. Wonderful. We're very pleased to hear that. So we'll start by going into the webinar agreement. So this is just so that everyone knows kind of what to expect out of being in a webinar. I'm sure this may be the first time for many. So we'll explain a little bit about that. So a really important thing to know is that everyone in this webinar is anonymous. So your comments and your questions will come up in the chat, but it just comes up as attendee to us. So we don't know anything like that. And also this, as I mentioned, this is being recorded, but the recording does not include the chat. So nothing, no details about the questions are being are viewable in the recording. Um, and if there's any questions about that, like please feel free to share them in the chat too. But we also, of course, people will be sharing some information in their questions. So we just ask that everyone in this space today respect the confidentiality of that, and creating a really, kind of safe space for us all to share. And we'll ask that you just take with you the learnings that you have, but leave any specific details of stories that others may have shared. And we really encourage everyone today to do anything you need to take care of yourself while you're attending this. It might be having a fidget, standing up at times to move a bit, getting really comfortable with any comfort items you may have, getting cozy. This will be just about an hour, I think. Also, you could make a cup of tea or coffee, just sit back and relax. We also want to acknowledge that, this is not necessarily a topic that we're experts in. We're looking forward to sharing our thoughts and experiences with this and hearing from all of you today. But this is really part of ongoing learning for all of us, is how we view this today. And we also acknowledge that not everything we share may resonate with you or may feel helpful. So we really just encourage you to take what does sit with you or fit for you and leave anything that doesn't, because we're all so unique and diverse. That makes sense that people may feel that way. And finally, we really encourage and welcome you to share any questions or comments throughout. We'll have a few times where we will have discussions and invite everyone to share, but also if anything comes up at any time, just throw it in the chat or the Q&A, because we want you to be able to express that. Sometimes we forget what we're thinking of too. So just we welcome that at any time.
Who are we? I guess I'll go. I don't know. So my name's Alex or Alexandra Bolton. I go by both. I started working at Heartwood in January of this year, so it's coming up to a year. I'm in the long-term therapy program. So I see folks in the Reflect and Reclaim program here. And my background, I've done a lot of different kinds of, I guess, therapy related work and then therapy adjacent work. My degree is in something called drama therapy, which is a creative arts modality for therapy. Maybe you've heard of art or music therapy. And so we do a lot of like talk therapy as we do here, but I'm always kind of interested in a playful relationship to therapy, whether that includes any kind of embodiment or different kinds of expressions that don't include words, just ways to infuse creativity, sometimes dramatic enactment into a therapy space.
Thanks, Alex. I'll share a little bit about myself too. So as I mentioned, I'm Dana Gottzmann, one of the long-term therapists, and I've been with Heartwood for approaching 2 years. And I do individual therapy, but also I like to be involved in a lot of group work as well. And yeah, anyone that I've had the chance to work with, hello, and nice to see you and have you here. And yeah, in my spare time, I like to do a lot of fun activities like choir, playing ultimate frisbee, and I really like getting to be involved in webinars too. So yeah, really happy to be here and really happy for all of you who are joining us today. Okay, so we'll just start with a bit of a check-in and grounding. So just invite you all to just take a moment before we do the check-in to just ground yourselves. So this could look like a lot of different things, but I'll guide you through a really short practice. So I'll invite you just to put your feet on the floor if that fits for where you are right now. Close your eyes if that is comfortable for you, and just take some deep and grounding breaths. Breathing in and out, and just breathing at whatever pace feels natural and comfortable for you. And if you don't feel comfortable with this, I invite you to not join, and do something else, whatever might work for you. Okay. Thank you all for joining me with that really, really, just short grounding practice. So we'd like to do a bit of a check-in today, and our check-in question for the day today is sharing a bit about what your internal weather is. So if we think about, outside we experience so many different types of weather on so many different days, and if you could maybe connect to a type of weather that really connects or describes how you're feeling today, what might that be? So Alex and I will both share, and then please at any time we welcome everyone to share in the chat. It's just really nice for us to have a sense of how everyone's feeling coming into our webinar today. So how's your weather today, Alex?
I'd say my weather is fairly sunny with just a little bit of what's the word? Like um I'm going away tomorrow, so I'm sort of feeling this, oh, like getting things finished and wrapped up at the office. So maybe a bit of a brisk breeze, like a whew, gotta, I'd say that's what my weather is today. Yeah, so maybe like 60% sunny, 40% little brisk breeze, just getting me going. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I think mine today, when I started this morning, I felt quite tired and have a big day today doing this webinar and some other things. So I was anticipating that. So it probably was a little overcast, but I'm feeling more energetic as the day progresses. So I think now maybe there's some sun kind of working its way through the clouds. And
Oh,
many have shared.
yeah.
Thank you guys.
Mhm.
So someone said tornado, foggy.
Torrential downpour. Someone said I'm feeling exactly like it looks and feels outside today, which is kind of there's a bit of
Kind of
yeah, there's some
overcast.
yeah, it was, and there's well, I see there's a bit of sun poking through maybe, but yeah.
Someone said feeling like the change of season.
Mhm.
Like someone else said, like today, overcast and mild.
Cloudy and meh. Okay, yeah. Overcast with gusty winds. Nice.
Oh, I
Very
didn't know people
descriptive.
could like react or
Yeah,
like
I
each
didn't know
other's
that
comments.
either.
That's
That's
cool.
great.
Someone else agreed with the overcast and gusty winds. Cloudy,
Yeah.
partially sunny and changing with the wind.
Nice.
Mix of sun and clouds. Gentle and crisp.
Cloudy with periods of sun. Cloud covered, cloud covered, low visibility. Mhm.
Well, thank you all so much for sharing and
Mhm.
engaging with us in that. I hear that some people are maybe a bit of a theme is, feeling a bit cloudy or overcast.
Mhm.
So I hope that this webinar will be a bit of will, end up feeling like a bit of sun coming in. But also, I think I really appreciate that we're all coming in just as we are
Yeah,
today.
being
And
really
that's okay
honest.
if that doesn't change. And just an important reminder to really take care of ourselves when we acknowledge that we're feeling like when we see what our weather is for that day. That's a really good way to check in with ourselves and ask, oh, what do I need today if this is my weather today?
And thanks for just being so embracing of this metaphor of internal weather. Like it's yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Okay, so why explore self-compassion? We've decided to not use a lot of text in our slides. And so you can see on this first slide, we've got a mix of images. There's some that might be, um, relating to self-compassion, the brain and the heart holding hands, um, the woman cooking. We don't actually like that could be a nice activity for her. We don't know. She might be feeling stressed out. She might be feeling relaxed. Then we've got some images here about that might be, um, I'd say, symbolic of an inner and a kind of inner critic, or kind of some sorts of messages that I think are very common, definitely things that I've said to myself. So we've got like, I can't do it, I'm not worthy, I must be perfect, nobody loves me, I'm not good enough, I must not make a mistake. We've got another image here that's sort of this opposing conflict between that feelings of low self-worth, and then, I think trying to extend into compassion and don't feel that way. And sometimes how that itself can be a bit of a tension, two different kinds of conflicting voices. So, um, but I think also having these images, we talked about this on the same slide, how this can all sort of feel quite mixed together a lot of the time. That there might be a really nice moment in the day, and then things kind of dip, and then they come back or whatever. It's all up and down all of the time. Yeah.
Hmm.
What do you think, Dana?
Yeah, I think Reason that we were interested in exploring this topic in the webinar is that I'll speak a bit about myself. Like I found this to be a very present theme with the folks that I've had the chance to work with in groups and in long-term therapy. Self-compassion is something that a lot of us really struggle with, especially um, especially if that's something that hasn't really been present throughout our lives. It can be really difficult to kind of know how to incorporate that more. It can feel really, really foreign, really, really disconnected from us. However, when we are able to explore that and build some skills and ideas of ways to practice it a little bit, I found this can be something that can be really, really powerful and helpful for folks and how they're just kind of doing on a day to day and how they're um, dialoguing with themselves and working with the inner voices that they have and how to deal with those different voices. So yeah, I think I'm really interested to explore this with everyone today and hope that this can be a really, really helpful topic to dig a little deeper into. But I really agree with what Alex said that we're conscious that sometimes talking about self-compassion can seem kind of like all sunshine and roses, like, oh, just be self-compassionate to yourself and it'll be fine. But we really acknowledge it's not so simple and it's not just that. So we really wanted to emphasize that there's a part of this that's the part that's difficult that we struggle with, and that we see that as really present. You know. So now we'd love to invite everyone to just share in a bit of discussion with us about this topic. When we're introducing this and thinking a bit about self-compassion, what comes up for you? What does it mean for you? What's your experience been like with it? And this also doesn't have to be necessarily words that you share. Also, maybe when you think of it, a certain feeling in your body comes up, colors, a song, an image. So we really welcome you to share in whatever comes up for you, whatever that looks like. And then we'll see what everyone shares and just chat a little bit about it. Oh, and I see maybe someone's shared a bit in the Q&A already. So cute. Okay, this is a message from Michaela, one of our colleagues, who's just giving us a reminder. So she said, please make sure you are selecting post anonymously, which can be found right under where you type your post before pressing ask. Okay, so that's a really good reminder. I think especially in the Q&A.
Thanks, Michaela.
Is when you need that. So yeah, thanks so much, Michaela. Mm-hmm. We'll just give a bit of time for everyone to reflect a little bit and share anything you wish in the chat. And a reminder too that it's just an invitation to share. It's not a requirement by any means. Okay, thanks. Thanks so much. We're already getting some comments. So the first person shared that it brings up for them light blue, the color, spa music, candles.
Very relaxing. Someone shared it brings up discomfort. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Someone else shared Dancing Queen at full volume. Wow.
Great stuff.
Yeah.
The next one is the feeling of a hug, comfort, but not dependent on others' assurances. Very, very emotive.
Yeah. Boundaries too, I think about
Yeah,
dependent on others.
Someone else shared constant opposing forces, very black and white. Yeah, that really makes me think of those different photos that we had in our last slide, how they were kind of really in contrast.
Yeah, and I think the thing sometimes, well, about self-compassion is it sort of does it kind of suggest gray in the black and white a little bit? I don't know if anyone thinks about that. Someone else said being gentle on ourselves and both strong enough to do it, but with ease, pink and light blue. I like, oh yeah, so including color images there. Ease, pink and light blue. Nice.
Someone else said the Don't Worry, Be Happy song. That makes me smile. Just
I
thinking
love
about
that
that.
song.
Yeah, that comment about the black and white, that makes me think about how maybe often what we might kind of think of or assume about self-compassion is kind of like it's this or that. Like there's only one way to do it, or to do it, it has to look like this, but that might not actually work for us. And then we can feel kind of like there isn't space for us within that. But I think, yeah, like what we'll hopefully do today is exploring a bit of that gray
Yeah.
and yeah, and finding ways we can explore it.
Someone else said taking care of yourself physically and emotionally, letting yourself feel, stuffed animals, bright colors, and ABBA, more ABBA. Love that. Letting
Oh,
yourself feel. Yeah.
someone else shared, hoping it will give me a boost, but feeling rather defeated about the whole thing. Kind of like gray clouds, but hoping the sun will shine through. I think that person also might be connecting to their weather too today, the internal weather.
Yes.
Mm,
Oh, and someone, it seems like that resonated with someone.
Yeah, I really appreciate that we can react to each other's comments because that just and that we're seeing, people are relating to comments that we people have shared, and that really shows that you might feel, oh man, I'm really struggling with this, but knowing that you're not alone, you're not the only one feeling that way today.
Being able to expand my vision. Great image.
Yeah.
So maybe seeing more. Is that, yeah.
Yeah, looking out. Thank you so much to everyone who shared. I really appreciate hearing all of these different perspectives and descriptions of what it could be. And some of them really, I find I can really connect to and really imagine what they would be like. So that's just really, really valuable when we share about our experiences with each other.
Yes, that that resonates with me as well. Oh, here we are. So we're gonna read a book. Um, we did some chatting about what might be a pretty sort of just simple, um, I don't know, on the topic of self-compassion. And I think we both really liked this book because it kind of included everything folks have been sharing about here, that it can be a lot of different things that I can feel differently at different times or different days. And there's a lot of images in this book as well. So we're gonna like in an old-fashioned way, I guess, or I don't know, not enough. We're gonna actually read it. I'm gonna read it. Okay, so it's called My Heart, and I think we're hoping, oh, there might be a bit of a glare. Let's see.
Yeah, let us know if you're really not able to see the images in the book. But hopefully it'll be okay.
Okay, this says, My heart is a window. My heart is a slide. Don't know if you can see this here. It's kind of a little bit of a shape of a heart here, but also a mirroring of opposing colors, right? Yeah. My heart can be closed or open up wide. Some days it's a puddle. Some days it's a stain. Some days it is cloudy and heavy with rain. Some days it is tiny. It's just there. It's so little there. It's a tiny little yellow. But tiny can grow. I love that.
Me too.
Yeah. And grow. And grow. I like that image of connection as well between two people.
Me too.
Yeah. There are days it's a fence between me and the world. Days it's a whisper that can barely be heard. There are days it is broken, but broken can mend. And a heart that is closed can still open again. My heart is a shadow, a light, and a guide. Starry night. Closed or open, I get to decide. That's the book. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that, Alex. I really appreciate that. I think it's just a very like a very simple but tangible way of exploring that topic. And it really goes through, there's so many different ways we can feel within our hearts and towards ourselves on any given day or moment. And they can be really, really complex. And this book really, I like how I feel it really has a kind of like accepting attitude towards all of these different ways that we might feel.
Yes. Yeah, that's kind of been I think so far the theme of this webinar of taking it all, right? A couple folks have shared that they enjoyed the book, loved the book. Thank you for the read. If anyone has any other, I don't know, comments, it's possible it didn't resonate with you, and that's fine too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
So the next topic we'll go a little more into is exploring, why do we struggle with this? I think that's a very universal thing that so many of us, probably all of us, have struggled with this at one point or another. Maybe not all the time, but there's always those moments where things have happened or we've had experiences that really make it hard to be kind and to be gentle with ourselves. We really feel a lot of blame or shame or judgment towards ourselves. And the weight of that, like those inner negative emotions towards ourselves can be really, really heavy, really hard to get out of it, really hard to know kind of how to navigate that. I think it's a really good thing to talk more about. Um, and when I think about this, I think about how we have, many of us just kind of through the different experiences that we've had, growing up, we may have like heard a lot of different messages and a bit of negative messages or voices that may end up being kind of voices that we hear echoed later on in our lives within our internal self-talk. And we might just kind of feel like that's how it is. Like,
Oh, yeah.
that's how I view that's the relationship with myself.
I got
I'm
to
hard
accept
on
that.
myself. I judge myself. Like, and we might feel like this is unchangeable. This isn't something we can kind of work with or transform at all. But I'm really hoping in this webinar to introduce the idea that it is something that can be changed and transformed throughout working and exploring the practice of self-compassion. Not necessarily something really easily changed or done, yet I really want to offer hope that is something we can explore.
and work with, and that, the way we are and the things that we're struggling with at any given moment, it doesn't necessarily always have to be like that. And just even opening our just that mindset of like that there's room for growth and change is a really helpful mindset to adopt a little bit. Just the idea that, oh, maybe this is something I could try to change, even just a really small amount, or try something different when I'm dealing with these negative thoughts towards myself. Yeah, yeah. And I think as well that there could be pretty major things going on in one's life that might make the struggle with self-compassion hard. And there might be a day where you didn't get a great sleep, or, and things just seem insurmountable, and that is all part of it, that there isn't, sometimes I wonder, sometimes I hear sort of about like, oh, well, I don't think that this isn't a really big thing going on in my life. And maybe like I don't actually deserve self-compassion in that way because it's not a big thing. It's like, no, it all falls under the umbrella there. Yeah. I know sometimes when I don't get a great sleep, I'm in what I would call the pit, honestly. And sometimes when I'm in there, it's hard to actually see that I'm in there. And then later I was like, oh, there I was. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Anyway.
It's really important to acknowledge the connection to trauma that self-compassion has when, those who've experienced traumatic experiences throughout their life or adverse experiences, that's often connected to receiving a lot of, really negative, like messages, or patterns that you might have received and kind of become a bit ingrained, a part of you, and that adds a lot of complexity to trying to work with the inner voices that we have and the initial kind of patterns and responses that we might want to have. So we really want to acknowledge that's the added that makes things really, really complex when we're trying to work with this.
Hmm. Any thoughts out there? Anyone want to share about that in the chat or?
Yeah, I would love to hear what each of you finds hard or difficult relating to self-compassion, or what's helped you adopt this more in your life. I think there's a lot of messages around, we have to earn something, we have to deserve something, be worthy of something, to be kind to ourselves, to feel like we can celebrate ourselves, or you kind of let something go within ourselves. And that can be really complex and make it really hard to just give ourselves like just kind of unconditional acceptance.
So someone shared guilt with being seen as selfish. So sort of what we've both been mentioning here, that I think this can be a common one for folks, or that um, having self-compassion is somehow the same as being selfish, and trying to unbungle that message. And a first step to doing that even is just to be aware of it. Oh, here it is. Here I am feeling selfish right now, just to bring some awareness there.
Yeah, so and then the next person really really connects to the first person who shared this person shared allowing myself to not feel selfish about being focused on me.
Mm.
Yeah, really also touching on that inner kind of struggle with that, how we might view self-compassion, the inner the views that we have on that within ourselves. Someone else shared, for me, it feels like I have two parts of me. And when I am having a hard time and try to extend self-compassion to myself, part of me comes out with those negative thoughts, like I have no value, etc.
Mm.
Again, really connecting to that, this inner struggle we have with ourselves. And sometimes it can really feel like separation from like our mind and our heart. Like intellectually, we might be able to think, oh yeah, I should, have acceptance for myself or some compassion. But then there's these, these feelings that we have maybe of like resistance to that or fear around that. It might bring up a lot of different things that makes it difficult.
And someone else shared, show ourselves some grace. And that's so like what a lovely word. And actually I'd be curious if that attendee is open to this to actually share their definition of grace.
Yeah.
Because that's different for everyone. And it's okay if not. Um, Someone else said, automatically to go to negative self-talk. It is my comfort zone. So that maybe this speaks to, oh, this is familiar to me. This is what I've known or I've been up to for I've been doing a long time. Maybe it's kept me safe in ways. So this is my go-to, and that is just such a common and normal feeling to have. Yeah.
Next person shared, I beat myself up about mistakes from years ago. This really resonates with me. There are certain things that it's so hard to let go and release. Someone also shared, learning to forgive ourselves for past mistakes. We all make them.
And I wonder a little bit about connecting to common humanity and feeling that sense of like, oh, sometimes I can feel so in it, like what I was saying earlier about myself, when I'm in the pit, I'm really in it, but that actually other people share similar kinds of feelings, and whatever wording that might be for you, that, oh, there's other people out there, I think, that are also grappling with this, and how do I do this self-compassion practice?
Mhm. The next comment is, I feel bad for standing up for myself and extreme guilt for making a mistake. I think that one and some of these other comments have made me think about how we may have parts of ourselves who, have a lot of resistance to self-compassion, or maybe bring up the, negative self-talk, feelings of guilt, different things like that. And these are maybe responses that we have, or patterns that we have, that we feel very very at odds with. We might feel like frustration. Why do I have to respond this way? Why do I struggle with this? And I think there's perhaps like a part of that at some point in the past has been helpful for us. It's maybe kept us safe, kept us protected, um, given us some distance that we needed. And so that sometimes I think is a really helpful idea to introduce, that these parts that we could have been at odds with might have served us in certain ways in the past. And still now they may think that that's the best way to look out for us. Even though it feels like it's not helpful for us, it might actually be a part that, has a lot of love towards us and is just trying to care for us, but it doesn't realize that that's maybe not what we need anymore. And that can be an attitude we can really incorporate as we're trying to, work with these parts of ourselves that we're at odds with. Having some compassion for them, appreciating what they've done, but also asking them to kind of step back, because, maybe a different part of us would like to try responding to things in a different way. Someone shared, I totally agree with what Alex said. I don't even know when I'm in it a lot of the time.
Yeah, that is so, yeah, as I said. And I wonder about this, and even um, as a way to bring attention to it with maybe a little bit of playfulness of like, oh, here's my in it like song. This is a song that, or this is a color that, or this is a poem that, oh, here we are. This is what just to bring some awareness to it and maybe change your relationship to it just a little bit. This is my, like, I'm in it song. There's actually a band that has a song called Now I'm in It, and I think that's what it's about. Um, and or that this is like my feeling better song, like I'm coming out of it song or whatever. just as an idea, but yeah.
Thank you again so much for sharing those comments. I think they touched on so many different layers and elements of what makes self-compassion difficult. Oh, someone said, I'm sorry, I almost missed the webinar.
Oh,
You didn't. You're here.
welcome.
We're glad you're here. And please know too that this webinar is being recorded and at some point will be shared on our website too. So folks who've missed a portion or all will have a chance to watch this too. Yeah, so again, just thanks so much for those comments and exploring that with us.
Okay, so just a few points here that I think we've already touched on a lot about what is self-compassion. Actually, the print is a little small here. So the first component, or one of the components, being mindfulness. Self-compassion involves recognizing when we were stressed or struggling without being judgmental or overreacting. So just a lot of that noticing. Another from my own personal life, like I sometimes would nickname my sort of inner critic, or that feeling of anxiety that's coming, as a doom cloud, and just being like, oh, look, here it is, it's coming here. And so that step in acknowledging self-kindness, being, and I'm trying to be self-compassionate to myself, like reading.
Our PowerPoint's very small on our screen. That's why we're having trouble reading it.
Being supportive and understanding towards ourselves when we can't read small text, or when we're having a hard time, rather than being harshly self-critical. Yeah, but also maybe like acknowledging that we can be self-critical, we were talking a little bit personally about a sort of fix-it mentality, or sometimes narratives around self-compassion that can come out. And that this is not something that happens overnight, right? Like there's little tiny links being built all the time, and then maybe the chain becomes longer. And connectedness. So remembering that everyone makes mistakes and experiences difficulties at times. We are not alone, and there were some beautiful images of connection in that book as well. And then I wanted to share 3 points that might be helpful tools when doing this work. So if the feeling is coming up of, I don't know, what would one be like?
I wish I hadn't I wish I hadn't done that. I'm feeling regret.
I'm feeling regret. I'm not perfect. Or yeah. So okay, so I'm having a feeling. So just naming, what is the feeling? What is it actually? What's happening? And then, can I identify why I am feeling this way? Dana, I feel a little bit embarrassed because I had to zoom in really, like I had to like look at the print, and I felt a little embarrassed. That's why I'm feeling that way, actually. And then the third one would be, what can I do what can I do for myself in this very moment? I actually felt a little nervous. So my mouth got kind of dry, and I actually need a sip of water right now. That's what I need in this moment. Or maybe I need to take a walk, or maybe I need to take 3 breaths. Maybe I need to lie down and rest. Maybe I need to call a friend. I don't know. What would be some others? Or
Yeah, sometimes I just need to like put my hand on my heart and comfort and just like tell myself, I'm okay. It's gonna be okay.
Yeah,
that's a big one that helps me.
Oh, thanks. I didn't know that, Dana. Yeah, thanks.
Someone shared when you zoomed in, it was cute. FYI.
Yeah. What do I need in this moment? And maybe trying to break down moments like, okay, we're just in this moment. We're not thinking about later today. We're just in this moment right now.
Yeah, I think that we can find it so accessible to offer compassion to others, like those we care about, but it can feel so difficult, so inaccessible to offer it to ourselves, and thinking about too, like, what if this wasn't me who was dealing with this? What if it was someone I care about? How would I comfort them? How would I think they could maybe care for themselves? And then flipping that back to you.
Mhm. Yeah. Oh, Dana, you had this great.
Yeah, one something that Alex and I were talking about as we were kind of brainstorming this was, if self-compassion was a recipe, what might it include? People might have ideas or suggestions, but I think, maybe it takes a little bit of love towards ourselves, a little bit of grace, acceptance. But I think there's a lot of different things, and we all probably have a unique recipe. So I would really welcome any ideas or thoughts on that.
I think mine would include some patience for myself
Mhm.
as well. Um, and patience is a different construct than self-compassion
Mhm.
too. Like, okay, it's okay. It's mhm.
I think mine would also include like some forgiveness. Sometimes I think, I just kind of expect myself to maybe be perfect and never mess up. And then when I do mess up or wish I hadn't acted a certain way, I just find it really hard to tell myself like it was okay
Mhm.
and let myself go on that. But some forgiveness of that can
Mhm.
be really helpful for me. A little more I'll share about this topic is, the title of this is like looking at self-compassion as a resource. And talked about this in earlier in the presentation too, but we often think of this as a really black and white kind of thing. Like we either have this capacity to have self-compassion for ourselves or we don't. And we think it is how it is. But I think we can look at self-compassion as, any other skill or tool that we can practice and build within ourselves.
Mhm. That's
And then
true.
we all have room for growth within this.
That's a great metaphor, Dana, because it's sort of pulling on the idea that, okay, there's other skills or things I've practiced in my life,
Mhm.
and that is kind of, well, I don't want to say this can be applied to that. So in those moments where maybe you're feeling really like I'm in it, it's like, oh, there's that other skill I actually like practiced in my life, and maybe, with self-compassion.
Hmm.
Yeah, so just a little note on self-compassion in transitions and seasons. And I think that came up in the internal weather check-in for a couple of folks. So, um, acknowledging that the days are getting pretty short right now. I don't know, it's dark around 6.
Yep.
I mean that we haven't had the time change yet, but that could definitely lend itself to some more inward feelings, I'd say. And naturally, our bodies, we're kind of, I think, generally wanting to feel more cozy, or we're kind of, settling up for winter, cozying up. So, um, not getting as much sunlight, not getting as much vitamin D, and just, oh, it makes sense that I feel blank because of, oh, the seasons are changing.
Mhm.
The weather's getting a little bit colder. Our bodies have to adjust to that as well.
Mhm.
Maybe air pressure change. Um, yeah.
Yeah, I think when I think about that too, I think about how we're kind of always we're always kind of changing or transitioning. We're not static. We don't feel the same way each day. We don't struggle with the same things each day. So adopting that attitude for ourselves at any time, I think is helpful too. Like I'm probably going to need different things to support myself at different times or when I'm struggling with different things. And there might be times when I'm going to be a little harder on myself than other times. And those are times when I'm going to need a little bit more support.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah, so we really would welcome any other kind of thoughts that people are having on on like looking at self-compassion as a resource or how it, kind of changes throughout ourselves, but we'll have a little more time for that. So yeah, please share that at any time, but we'll have some time to brainstorm a bit later too. So now we'd like to share a guided oh, someone's shared. Perfect. Someone said, it's perfect timing for me to have self-compassion today because I'm struggling not to be hard on myself because I have such a hard time in the fall. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, really, really real thing that we deal with living where we do in Winnipeg and in Manitoba. Um, the weather outside, like we talked about our internal weather, but the external weather can really be connected to our mood and how we might feel and what we need at different times.
Yeah.
And releasing some of those expectations can be really powerful. Like
Right.
we have this maybe expectation we should be like functioning at the same level every single day. But that's pretty unfair on ourselves to expect we be the same all the time when we aren't.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Someone said, okay, someone's saying a lot of bad decisions or trauma responses, so I think they're understandable. That's
Yeah.
that's so, yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah, and a few people thumbs up that. A few people agreed.
hmm, okay, trying to find something else it could be. I never would have allowed it to be just the weather. I tried to find something else it could be. Yeah. Do you want to share what it could be to that attendee? No pressure. Thanks for all your sharing here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to take us through a guided self-compassion exercise. And so there's going to be a few different steps to it. I'll kind of talk you through each step. This will be something that, if you wish to kind of engage with it, kind of like a meditation, like closing your eyes and connecting to yourself as we go through with it, you're welcome to, but you also don't have to. You can also just listen to this. There'll be some invitations to kind of like picture yourself in a certain situation and ask yourself certain questions. But don't feel you have to do it if it doesn't feel safe to do so. So I'll really just encourage everyone to be compassionate with themselves, be gentle with themselves, and be attentive to yourself. So check in with yourself if it doesn't feel comfortable. You can just listen instead of practicing it. And we'll also share a handout on this after in our resource list. So you'll still have this information. Yeah, so I'll invite everyone to just kind of prepare themselves, whatever that looks like for you, and we'll get into it. So just a bit of an intro. Self-judgment and self-criticism can be very ingrained thought patterns. So much so that we don't always fully realize they're present. Many of us have had a lot of conditioning that negatively impacts the thoughts we hold about ourselves. And many of us are just starting to recognize the ways in which we talk to ourselves or how we treat ourselves with unkindness. Much like improving our physical health, it's important to first be aware of the ways in which we are suffering as a result of self-judgment. It's also important to not start judging ourselves for judging ourselves. We have been doing our best, and self-compassion is a skill that can be practiced like any other skill. I'll invite you to just start with some regulating breaths, finding a natural pace. Just taking a moment to turn inwards. If it feels safe to do so, take yourself back to a recent time when you were feeling hard on yourself. Maybe judging, blaming, or shaming of yourself. And this should be something smaller, not very activating. On a scale of 1 to 10 in intensity, something no more than a 4 or 5. So picking something that you can explore safely today without it being really activating. Now, practice building awareness of how we are speaking to ourselves. And once you've noticed it, you can name it. Notice and name what is happening. So this might sound like I'm noticing that I am shaming myself for how I acted earlier today. Or I'm noticing I'm being critical and harsh towards myself for struggling yesterday. So just that step of taking a moment to notice what's happening and acknowledge it is a really initial step of just kind of interrupting that cycle. There's probably some kind of cycle or pattern that normally happens when those negative thoughts start to take over. And we're changing that pattern by disrupting it. We're saying, hey, I'm calling out what's happening. And that makes us much more aware of what we're dealing with. The next step is to notice how we are feeling in this moment. Underneath the self-judgment, are there other feelings to attend to? Perhaps disappointment, sadness, anger. And seeing if we can notice any other feelings that might be present there. And checking in with ourselves. How does it feel when we're hard on ourselves? How does it make us feel? The next step is to offer ourselves some self-compassion. And there's a lot of different ways to do so. So I'll take us through some of them. One is to validate our feelings. Sometimes we have feelings and we think, often we have feelings and we think like, I shouldn't feel this way. Why do I feel like this? I want to change this. But it can be really powerful to just let those feelings be there, to just say it's okay. It's okay to feel frustrated. It's okay to feel disappointed. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to feel regret. Just giving those feelings some acceptance and space can sometimes make it easier for them to kind of move through us rather than having that resistance for them. That can sometimes keep them more present. Another thing that can help is to connect to common humanity. Letting ourselves know, I am not alone in judging or criticizing myself. This is a part of life that we all find difficult at times. I think I can confidently say that because we have, like 20 people here today who are agreeing with that, who are connecting to that, and who've experienced that. So that can sometimes release a lot of that pressure we're feeling on ourselves. We might think, oh, I should be perfect. I should never feel this way, but this is a part of life sometimes. We all feel this way on ourselves. And that can also help us, have a bit of release from some of that. Can help make it easier to accept that. Another thing that can be helpful is to externalize your judgmental voice. And someone talked about this a bit too. So we could say, a part of me is judging myself, but maybe there's another part that has some compassion for yourself. Or, a part of me is regretting what I did, but a part of me accepts that, it happened. It was a mistake, but I can't change it. It's okay. I can learn from it. So, um, so that can really help in recognizing that, sometimes when we're feeling that negativity or judgment on ourselves, it can feel like that's the only thing that's there, but maybe it's not. Recognizing what's that part saying, but trying to listen to some other responses or voices we have can also be helpful.
I also wonder about when you were saying that, Dana, the kind of complexity of a critical inner voice. So there's maybe a
Mhm.
primary part that's like the one that's saying you're, I'm no good. And then there might be another one coming out that's a little almost like a critic for the critic, which is like, don't be so hard on yourself, which is a lot.
Yes.
That's a lot to manage. That's that's actually another kind of harsh voice, I think, right? So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, very so true, Alex. And then another thing that we can do is intentionally offer ourselves some kind of kind or caring statement. So recognizing that, we're dealing with some negativity right now, and what could we do to maybe offer ourselves some love or some encouragement? Um, and these could also be really neutral statements too.
That's a great one, Dana.
Because sometimes it can be hard to be like really, really, sometimes feeling really loving or encouraging to ourselves can feel like too foreign or too much, but it could be something neutral. It could be like, what I am judging myself for does not define me. Or I am with myself through all of life's experiences. Just reminders that, you're with yourself through this. Mhm. Um, we can also try to invite in some, just connecting to some of our strengths. So we could ask ourselves, what is something I value about myself? What is a strength I see in myself? So I'll invite you just to take, another moment or two just to think of something you want to offer yourself, or just, reflect a bit on some of those different steps. And then we'll prepare to close this.
Yeah, and I just realized we didn't read this out loud. So an attendee said, I struggle more when I eat the wrong things. And that seemed to resonate with someone as well.
Mm. Okay, so thank you very much for joining in that practice, and also kind of a discussion. And this is a practice that we'll share this list of kind of steps with you, and then you can take it to yourself the next time you notice that you're being hard on yourself. This could be one way of trying to cultivate and practice that resource of self-compassion. So I would love to move on next to a brainstorm. So I'll invite you to just kind of debrief that, practice a little bit, like if you want to share how that was for you, or what, if you learned anything, or kind of what came up for you, how that was. I also know that might not have, there might be lots of different experiences that could have been helpful that might not have worked for you. So would love to hear how people experience that. And then we'll also just have an open invitation to share different ways that you do practice self-compassion with yourself. Which I think is really great because, we each might have like one or two things that we do, but, there's almost 20 of us here today. So 20 times 2 is 40. So we're doubling we're really improving really increasing how many things we could know about.
Someone said today I offer myself forgiveness. And I think also I really appreciate the use of the word today, because I think that speaks to a lot of what we're talking about. Days are different, or there might even be moments where if I'm really in it, it's like, the expression strike when the iron's hot. Actually, sometimes it's good to strike when the iron's cold. Like, oh, I'm feeling a little more relaxed or calm, and I can sort of reflect on self-compassion. Strike when the iron's cold.
Oh, some other comments shared, someone said meta meditation. I think that might be something that helps them with self-compassion. Someone else shared learning how to say no. Someone's shared, is that from Tara Broch?
Yeah.
Brock? Is that about the meta meditation? Or the exercise that we shared? Maybe just let us know exactly who shared that comment, what you're wondering about, and then we can let you know. Um, Oh, is rain. Oh, I
I
think
think,
so.
yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry, we didn't really explain that. But this is a really kind of more concise version of some of those like that, all those different steps I went through. This is a really, RAIN is like an acronym that can help us with the practice of self-compassion. So it starts with R, recognize what is happening. A, allow. I is investigate. And N is nurture. And those, those might be different. Those words, we might want to find different words that resonate more with us too, but that is a good, just a very simple one for connecting us to that practice. Thanks for asking, for the person who asked that.
Someone said today made me realize how much I'm not alone in the way I think and feel. Yeah. Thanks for sharing
Glad to
that.
hear that.
Yeah, really glad to hear that.
So, we'll welcome any more comments or feedback on that or experiences in that exercise. But we'll also just open it up if anyone has any kind of questions, final thoughts, or takeaways that they'd like to share from today. We're just about done. So now's kind of the last opportunity to explore that.
Thank you. Today, I allow myself to wait until after this webinar to be productive instead of working on another task at the same time and letting go of anxiety that moving more slowly through my day raises. Wow. And very specific, like,
Yeah.
I think that can be a common one of doubling up or tripling up tasks.
Yeah.
I think there's a term monotasking actually that is talking about sounds like this person was on the just the webinar. And that can kind of allow for that train of thought and peace of mind to come in. This is my intention here is just to actually do this one thing.
Yeah, sounds like this person is really it has awareness that, there's like a voice inside of them that's telling them you need to be productive, as productive as you can. And then offering yourself some, some space to not be as productive as you can, to just kind of focus on one thing at a time. And that's very, very compassionate thing to offer yourself. Someone else shared, I can forgive and give compassion to others more easily than myself, but I end up enabling others and allow myself to be used.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really challenging part of this. Um, Someone else shared, when I really struggle with self-compassion, I listen to guided meditations by Sarah Blondin, particularly loving and listening to yourself. Oh, thank you so much for sharing that resource. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, cool. Thank you.
All right. If there's any final comments, please, you're still very welcome to share them. But I think it's about the right time to wrap things up. So we just really want to thank you all for being here, for participating in the discussion and exploration of these topics today. And yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, everyone. And thank you so much for all your really transparent sharing and all the sort of glimmer moments and the struggle moments with this work because it's ongoing and that I think that even though we might all have different relationships to it, it's something that's pretty common to struggle with.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, thank you all so much. Yeah. Oh,
someone said thanks for a few thank yous. Thank you all. We really appreciate that. And someone said thank you for offering this. I will definitely be watching again. That's great to hear. And yeah, we have webinars almost every month. So and just some of the stuff that we offer. So yeah, we really encourage everyone to attend more if the topics kind of resonate with you, or maybe even if it doesn't, you never know
right.
what might happen. Yeah. Yeah, all right.
Okay.
We'll end
Yes,
this now. And just, yeah, wishing everyone a
Bye.
wonderful day. Yeah, so the next webinar
Oh,
will be anger. That's
great.
true.
Yes, that's true.
Gonna be an
Yeah.
interesting one. I'm looking forward to that one. Oh, there's one more comment coming in, so we're gonna wait. Oh, someone said
Oh,
thank you.
great.
Nice.
Good. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Have a great day.
Bye.
Thanks
See
again.
you later. Oh.